Alright, I think I prepped for part 2 of why money is the key to freedom. Because there is another side, there is another layer of money in general, which I didn't talk about, but I'll present you with a problem, and this problem is kind of evolving slowly and propping up. But if we want to fight ideas, we don't like certain ideas that other people have. If we want to successfully fight them, and this is what's happening all over the world, money's not enough for the freedom, apparently. And I would say that is absolutely correct. We kind of have universal money at the moment. Sure, you have to exchange from one currency to the other, and there is some problem with that. We still cannot actually establish proper money, which is kind of like my main concern. But the secondary concern is that there is an ability to fight ideas by using another layer on top. So let me present you with the problem. But before that, I'm gonna remind you with the shocker from the first part. In other words, you get a call from someone saying, please, 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 someone just really pushing you into the zone from where you would ask a favor, value, or just straight up money, to the point where you will trust the person to kind of take something for free, or not for free, but they will return value over time. This is the threshold. This is what they have to pay now, and this is what they have to pay over time. And obviously they can pay now that little amount to get to the threshold, and then they don't have to pay anything immediately. But naturally you would want for a value to be somewhat returned, and then you can trust that person again. So when someone takes something above the threshold and doesn't return to you, well, they're not supposed to get your trust anymore. You might have some trust for emergencies, but you shouldn't be like scammable anymore. This is what's so very interesting, because at the moment, because of the system is not established, not just the idea war is getting intense, because nobody really has any good tools to communicate ideas. Nobody has them. Another problem that occurs is the stabbing in the back problem, the Ponzi scheme problem. Ponzi scheme happens 99% of the time in everyone's lives, and people just accept that. Not only people accept that, people do it to other people. It is simply the act of doing some kind of emotional trickery to claim trust that you're not supposed to be deserving. You didn't deserve, right? You claim trust, you push people into an emotional corner. You say, please, 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 you create this emotion to get what you don't deserve. This is what it's all about. And whoever is successful most of the time is going to be successful in this Ponzi scheme of pushing emotionally people, new people most of the time, because again, you can only show magic tricks so many times until people are not actually interested, even though they don't necessarily know how it's done. But because they don't know how it's done, you can just manipulate the magic trick a little bit, and then they will be interested again, right? So if a person is interested in knowing and figuring out how things work, they will slowly distance themselves from wanting to see the magic tricks or to be fooled in general. So this is where the paradox comes into play. What happens when some people are immune to the Ponzi scheme, to any Ponzi scheme, by the way? What if some people are just completely independent? They not only are immune, but they don't have to Ponzi scheme others. So I'm still gonna think what actually happens, because I have no fucking clue. Because everyone is doing it. Everyone is specialized in that very specific thing. Even if they don't think they're participating in the Ponzi scheme, if they're looking for a profit, this is the easiest profit that you can gain. Like every shopkeeper knows, put $9.99, so people think, oh, it's just 9, not 10, that you have to think for a price. It's just the easiest Ponzi scheme that you can pick up and understand. And these are happening in all sorts of ways, where quick thinking, where emotions kind of take over the actual truth. So perhaps even Shape of the Earth is now under this Ponzi scheme. Yeah, and it's hard because a lot of good and important truths are under pressure, under the same fucking money-making system. Whoever can rip off another person. This is why I say we live in a human jungle. Everyone is fighting for themselves because we're going towards this position where you can be immune and you will not Ponzi scheme others, and then you can actually be trustworthy. This is why we need to figure out how to fight the idea war, because we need to find trustworthy people, right? So if you're not doing the Ponzi scheme and you are actually immune to every other thing out there, so no one is gonna force you into like trying to survive or anything. This is where you can trust in yourself in any position, really. And like you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. No one is going to stab you in the back just because you're losing on some kind of idea. Or at least you know how much you can do. So you can still trust yourself, and that person is also trustworthy. So this is where things have to change a little bit, where money has to evolve that one layer to figure out who is actually trustworthy. And this requires a collective effort. So here's the problem. You don't actually deserve, I mean, if you look at at money, the best example I can give, Jesus walks into a store, he probably deserves to take a lot of stuff for free because he's Jesus, right? He doesn't really have money, but people will give him money. So he doesn't necessarily have to take stuff for free. People will just give him money anyways, if he cannot actually convince the shop owners to give stuff for free. So see, that's where the second layer can come in. This example is actually perfect. If people give money to Jesus, people will get respect. Whoever gives money to Jesus actually will gain a lot of respect, and other people will consider that person trustworthy because, wow, you gave Jesus all of this money that he really needed, because Jesus is fucking smart and super trustworthy, so you're probably trustworthy as well because you did the right thing. And this trustworthiness kind of flows from Jesus into the person who also made the right decision. So not only Jesus is trustworthy to get all this value, but a person who did the right thing is also supposed to get value. And this second layer of money that I'm talking about is supposed to be able to achieve that. This awareness of who is trustworthy or not. We use money and we think that it also represents this second layer, that it also recognizes somehow that that person is trustworthy, even though that's the whole fucking problem, because in the end what you get is money making money, right? You have money and you can make more money because you already have money, so you probably have people's trust and you can make that trust and grow that trust, and it kind of works. But then it creates a huge gap between a person who doesn't have opportunities and a person who does have opportunities to invest and grow money. While in the end, what matters is not how much money you have, but how smart you are in spending it. That's the whole fucking thing. That's why you're supposed to deserve money. And the second layer of that is supposed to figure out if you do deserve, if you are trustworthy. There has to be certain tests being made to figure out if you deserve to have value or not. So that is very important to understand. Like I kind of wanted to start with an example. It's like, oh, imagine you're in this imaginary land of Skyrim. That's the latest imaginary land that you can actually play in. Despite Witcher, because Witcher is actually a person. Witcher 3, by the way. It's like, what? I don't know. Don't ask me why Witcher 3. But it's not a land, it's a person. So I don't know. But there are shopkeepers, for example, and one shopkeeper doesn't trust you because you have certain ideas that, don't follow their ideology. Most of the time you can earn people's trust simply by talking to them. Simply by explaining your reasons for why you did things, for apologizing, or maybe your reasons are completely legit, so you don't have to apologize, you simply have to explain why you did what you did. But naturally people will know things about you, and you will have to explain that away in order to get those important things from the shop. You might want the sword, and you're like, oh, I'm going to defeat this monster. I already defeated so many other monsters, and you're kind of explaining it away that you are on an adventure for like a long time, and you can you can just have the sword for free, because that person will trust you as long as you kind of return with something. I mean, as a proof, I don't know. But of course, it would be like huge respect, and that person doesn't want to stand in the way for another person who will earn a lot of respect in the future, for example. Like if there's a lot of potential for a person to earn the Jesus status, then you want to support that person, because in the end, you're going to be a huge part of how he became that level. So I don't think, yeah, I mean, that's definitely not happening. Like, the biggest problem about money is that money makes money, and nobody actually looks into how governments just rip off people, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess they have power because they already have power, so they can rip other people off. Well, what's supposed to happen in the future? And Peter Schiff just kind of sneaked into this insight, but then he kind of rambled the rest of whatever garbage is happening in America. It doesn't matter. But the truth is, if government stays away, doesn't impose any taxes on people, you have an actual free market, people might want to participate, because you don't actually have to pay the government. It doesn't interfere in your profits, and the profits may get huge, but at the same time, the only reason why government is trying to participate in that is so the currencies could be created, right? We have different currencies. We have different chunks of trust, of the way we evaluate trust. It's a little bit more complicated. It's like our currency has to split into these two layers of how we already know how money works, and the second layer of how we're gonna establish money, how we're gonna establish trust, who deserves money, right? How we're gonna figure out who deserves money without actually looking at their already, of how they already own money and what they're investing into. Like, some person may have never owned money, so how are you supposed to know if he deserves anything? It's like, if you only look at that one thing, which is missing, you'll never know. So, it's really complicated for some people, because it's unfucking fair. And thank me for uncovering it for you. But now get the fuck out of here, because we're already 3 minutes too far. Jesus Christ.